The following program contains the opinions of the host, guests, and call-in participants. These do not necessarily represent the views of this show's distributors or sponsors.
This book that some people do.
Well, yeah, that's why I'm asking. That's a false relationship, isn't it?
It's no relationship.
Yeah, thank you. It's not even a relationship. It's called, I don't know. What do you call
a sex doll according to the specs that you want and telling everybody this is my new
about the fact that you drew wisdom from Sun Tzu's The Art of War. How does that figure into this?
Sun Tzu. I teach business courses. I teach MBA courses.
Yeah, no, I know. Yeah, in business, I know that that's The Art of War is kind of a big deal. But I've never seen it, attached to relationships.
I learned a lot from him. Has positives and negatives. Every relationship has some conflict in it. You hope it does anyway, because otherwise you're going to have a very disenchantment on one end or another. And if you and Sun Tzu says communication, not conflict. That's very important to remember. Communication first, so that we sit down and we discuss, how are you feeling with this and how are you feeling with that? And then I have a setup that I give my clients that are in my books, and I talk about when you are hurting, when your mate has hurt you. All you have to do is set up a sentence like this. When you did blah, 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 I felt blah, blah, blah. Very simple. And then shut up. Most people say, and you did this, and you did this, and you gunny sacking like Santa Claus's bag, filled with all these negatives. Instead of that, you say, when you did this, I felt this way. So he can come back with, well, you shouldn't have felt that way. I own how I feel. Nobody can tell me I should or shouldn't. So he has to try something else. So he says, well, this is what I meant to say. This is what I meant to do. And this, I'm sorry you interpreted it this way and that way. And then you start to have a conversation. Conversation is very important. So that's the basis for Sun Tzu's Art of War. And it's interesting because I was interviewed by the Wall Street Journal and I said, I don't even like the title Art of War. I prefer the translation. That's the art of strategy. I'm a strategist. When somebody comes to me and says, well, he's not asking me to marry him. He's not asking me to live with him. This has been going on for so long. What is happening? How can I get him to? And I said, first of all, you can't get anybody to do anything. He wants to want. He needs to want what you seem to. And if he does not, and if he continues to behave the way he is, that's another word that I use that is not often used the way I use it. Confront means being up, capital F, capital R, capital O, capital N, capital T. Be up. Because every single relationship that goes downhill is a result of people not being honest and transparent with what they're afraid to say that. They're just afraid to communicate. What kind of relationship do you have if you can't communicate?
But Gilda, isn't this realization that women try to change men? I mean, seriously. I mean, half of all the movies ever made are.
He's okay. He shows potential until I get my fingers around him. Right?
Yeah, right.
Well, men don't like science. That's not going to happen. You cannot change the guy. You consider him like those racks of dresses. The way you see him is the way you got him.
So I don't think men try to do that, do they? Don't try to change women, do
No, they don't try to change women. It's the women who try to change men. Well, he's okay, but I'm going to redo his hair and his wardrobe and his car and and all these things.
Oh, don't get me started on that. There's nothing worse than a woman dressing a man, because if you have if a straight woman trying to dress a straight man, they end up being gay. That's all there's to it.
He can take me out for dinner. And we had dinner, and there was my phone number written on that postcard that he still holds on to. I said, "You still have this postcard? It's been a year." He said, "Well, I haven't been back in the States yet." And then we were on the phone for about 4 hours. He was in Paris, I was in New York, and we just talked and talked and talked. But this was just, it was fantasy, because he wanted me to come and work with his crazy family. You know, he had one sister who ran off with the circus and another sister who had marital things going on. And he wanted me to come there, and but he was also interested in me.
Right. I was going to say, he didn't want your help. He wanted you.
Yeah, he wanted me, and he asked me if I would have babies and be willing to become the religion that he chose or whatever. And I said, "Look, let's just have dinner. This is all, let's just have dinner." But I don't drink. And he ordered a bottle of red wine. I wish I knew to this day what red wine this was. I couldn't believe. I said, "No, I don't want. I don't." He ordered the whole bottle, and I said, "No, I don't want. I don't drink." And he said, "Okay, but I'll give you a glass anyway. Let's put the glass on the side." And I did, and I sipped. I said, "Oh my God, this is fabulous." And I have never been so happy with a glass of wine in my life. I tried to order later on different dates that red wine, red wine. I didn't know anything about wine anyway, because I didn't drink. So I could never duplicate that wine. And I didn't marry him. And I spoke to him a couple of more times on the phone. We went out. And but this can't happen. This is
you're the therapist here. I don't have to tell you this. The thing is, this is a perfect example of men desiring women. I mean, I'm not talking about casually. I mean, men see, and it's. I don't think it even has anything to do with beauty. Although that was, you got that. But men see, there's some women that just get under men's skin,
It's like a connection. And I'll tell you, we had a fabulous connection. I wish he were around these days. I'd love to talk to him, but that is probably never going to happen. But we had a great time. We connected really, really well. We had great rapport.
Yeah.
And he really, here's the killer. And this is how a man shows that he's really interested. Not only did my publicist send him a copy of the book, he read it. And and he said, "How did you know so accurately that Princess Di was the way she was?" And I said, "I just did my research, and I have a third eye and a sixth sense, and I just knew." He said, "God, were you ever accurate?" And he thought the world of me, because he thought, wow, she really does know this stuff. But we did connect, and it's unfortunate. He has this world, and then I had just died. He didn't even want to take over the monarchy, but his father had just died, and he had a lot of things on his.
I think a lot of women would think about like you were saying, the fantasy of being involved in that.
No.
But the fact of the matter is, it completely changed the compromises you have to make to be in that position. Is like,
He had no life. It was interesting, because I had seen him. He had gone out for dinner. I had seen him at an event, and he was escorted by Sharon Stone, hanging around, talking to people, and all of these women were, oh, you know, the swoon, oh. And I walked in and I went bing, bing, bing on his back, and he turned around and he immediately ignored everybody, shook my hand, and he never unshook my hand. And when we were finished, because Sharon Stone said, hey, look, we have to go in for dinner, that they were having. And it was for the Princess Grace Awards that that raises money for charity that he continues, or I think he continues. I don't know. I haven't followed up on that. Turned around and he was shaking my hand. He didn't let go of my hand. And finally, after about maybe 10 minutes, and Sharon Stone came in and said, hey, we need the other room. The paparazzi, who of course knew me, said, what was that about? I said, and they left it at that. They could have made something up, but they just left it at that. And, you know, I had a very, and they just left it.
Well, yeah, you end up selling a bunch of books.
Who would have thunk? A dress that didn't fit me right. The shoulders were falling off, and it was just a crazy night. And every woman,
literally, Prince Charming.
Yeah, Prince Charming, and it was so funny. But that's the killer. I mean, if a guy is interested in a woman, he will go out of his way to try to get to know at least about her.
Yeah.
And then to know her. So it was wonderful. It was a wonderful fantasy for a while, but we connect, and that the only reason was because we connected. So how did I even get into this? We were talking about these.
I brought a thing about the embezzlement.
He's not an embezzler.
No, I know, but that's how we got into it. I have no idea.
But here are these guys. The guys with Epstein, who probably didn't feel very comfortable about who they were on their own, and they had to have a name with them anyway. Yeah, well, I'm with Epstein, you know, to brag to the guys about who they were with. And this, you know, we saw a lot of this when I was running around in these circles. There was a lot of that. And, you know, when I came out to Scottsdale, I said, I just want transparency. I don't want any of this garbage. I just want transparency. And that's what I look for in friends and lovers. I mean, I just want transparency, truth. And we're not finding very much of that. We find out all the hidden agendas that a Chavez has had, and everybody knew this, Jim. Everybody knew that.
Brought it up. That's right.
Yeah, everybody knew about his peccadillos. Everyone knew. And yet it was a secret that nobody talked about until it hit the news. Then all of a sudden, everybody's holier than. And Newsom, of all people, who was having an affair himself with his best friends, he's a disgrace.
Yeah.
Why don't you look in the mirror and look at the disgrace that they are?
Right. And that's the reason I brought this up, Gilda. It's like, yeah, you're talking about the baby with the bad bathwater. Like, should life be all or nothing? I don't know if it should. It's like
all or nothing. It's a little bit of this. It's a little bit of that.
Right.
What I say in Real Men Don't Go Woke is that I quote Bill Maher, who I adore. Bill Maher is left wing. He will always be a Democrat. Yeah. And yet he sounds more like a Republican, like a MAGA Republican, than he ever has. He's saying that if a guy wants a woman, he is so well grounded in interpersonal relationships. He really knows his stuff. He says if a guy wants a woman, she better understand that he is like decaf tea. He's going to have a little bit of toxicity in him and a little bit of wokeism in him, and he's going to be a regular good guy. But understand, even decaf has a little bit of
Caffeine.
yeah, that caffeine. And so, I mean, I think, yeah, guys will be toxic, and so will women. Guys will be woke, and so will women. But this whole thing about where woke has taken us today, to put men down, to push men to the point, to the precipice that they're committing suicide. And now we know that men's suicides are 4 times greater than those of women. No, that's not okay. You cannot destroy a whole gender. Oh, excuse me. We have 72 genders, so what's the difference if we destroy one?
I don't know if anyone could say that better than you. That would thank you. No, seriously. I mean, that's one of the reasons I like to have you on. It's like that's the message. And it took us 51 minutes to get there. And that's all right. It's very entertaining. So I'm going to let you go, but we'll put your book on the screen here one more time. There it is. I could not say, thank you for saying that. I really appreciate that a lot as a man, because you're right. This can't go on anymore. This is like bullshit.
Can't go on. Our men are dying. They are losing their minds. And I am talking to men on TikTok who were telling me, I told my son, never get married. I said, well, that's not an answer. Well, I'm not dating any women. That's not an answer. Or the guy who came to me from Brussels and said, I know I'm a man, but I have heard enough about being toxic. Now I am defining myself as non-binary. That's not an answer.
No, that's not an answer.
Not an answer. No. The answer is get real. Understand where your heart is. Understand what you want to have a relationship. And all the stats prove to us that men are more interested in having relationships, especially these women today. And my whole life's work now, yes, I talk about the book. Yes, I'm being invited everywhere to book signings. Yes, yes, yes. But my whole life's work now is to get men to understand that are woke, the woke, witchy women, they do not like men. They do not like families. They do not like children. You will never have a relationship with one of those.
Last question. Then what do they like? That you could, if a UFO landed in your backyard and 2 Gralians got out of it and you took a picture of them from 6 feet away with your camera, with your phone, and the picture was sharp and clear as day, nobody would believe it. And at this point, there's so many people who don't want to, or simply don't believe this phenomenon is real, that there's nothing you could do to convince them. I don't think, and it's certainly not photo evidence, because now, I mean, you have AI. I just read about this thing about there's a thing going on in Britain about some soccer player got interviewed by a woman with a very, very low cut dress after a match. And the pictures, they got all over the internet because he's very humorously trying not to look at her breasts. But it turns out that whole thing is AI. It was made up. That the player exists, but he never did that interview, and that woman does not exist. They made up the whole thing, and thousands of people bought it. And so, yeah, it's photo evidence isn't going to cut it anymore, because it's so easy to convincingly fake. And so, what do you go on? Well, you go on, pre-internet stuff, like the stuff the government has. If the government's going to show us something, we assume it's real, especially regarding this. But also, there's just anecdotal testimony, and people say, well, people remember stuff differently, but there's so much testimony. That's my point. That's what I'm trying to say. I mean, Nick Pope said this recently. He just retired. Poor guy has cancer. terminal cancer, I guess. So he quit working. But he said that one thing people UFOs the government actually gets. He said, because he manned the UFO desk for the Ministry of Defense in Great Britain. And yeah, it's like he's right. It's like hundreds and hundreds of thousands of reports. And so if 95% of them are bogus, which I've always said, you get the 5% that are left, that's still tens of thousands of reports. Are all those people lying or crazy? No, no. And this is the part where I take issue with Carl Sagan, and I'm not the only person who brought this up. He said the very famous thing, extraordinary claims need extraordinary evidence. No, they don't. No, that's completely wrong. If one of these stories is true, the phenomena is real. All you need is one. So if hundreds and thousands of people say they've been abducted by aliens, is every single one of them lying? Every single one? I don't think so. I don't. That's the snooze news for tonight. We're gonna cut a little short because our interview with Gilda went a little long. So tomorrow night we have, oh God, I'm gonna get this guy's name right. It's hold on, Mark Kwan, if I'm right. I don't want to screw it up. Yes, Mark Kwan. He's an economist, and he's going to tell you how you can save and invest your money. It's a money show. I'm gonna play Dave Ramsey. That should be interesting. The guy knows his stuff. He wrote a book called, oh God, I'm terrible. Forget me. Just okay. He's going to be on tomorrow night. I don't know about Wednesday and Thursday, but he's on tomorrow night. So let's leave it at that. All right. Thanks again to Gilda Carle for joining us. Just charming as hell. Enjoyed it immensely. I want to thank you for watching. I really appreciate it very, very much. I don't spend enough time doing this. If you're on, one of the social networks, which you are probably watching this, subscribe to us. I'd love that. I would. Or if you're on TikTok and watching a short, like it, or follow. That would be wonderful. Please do that. It would make me happy. Good night, Uncle Donnie, wherever you are. And good night to you, wherever you may be. I'll see you tomorrow night with Mark Kwan, everybody. Take care.